Good morning and welcome back to another video. This video is going to be on samples and population. This starts our new unit 8. So you're going to write 8.1 up here at the top under unit. And our learning intention for this section is to understand how to use random samples to make conclusions about a population. You're going to know that you're successful with this when you can explain why a sample is biased or unbiased, when you can explain why conclusions made from a biased sample may not be valid, and when you can use unbiased samples to make a conclusion about a population. So, some key terms and things that you're going to want to know before moving into this lesson is this word population. And population is an entire group of people or objects. Okay, I apologize about that gray spot there. Not sure what's going on with the camera. And then a sample is a part of the population. Okay. So moving along, we have an unbiased sample and a biased sample. So an unbiased sample is representative of a population. It's selected at random and is large enough to provide accurate data. Now, an unbiased sample is not representative of a population. And one or more parts of the population are favored over others. Okay, so when you're looking for what type of samples you want to use, obviously you want to use an unbiased sample because you want it to be representative of the population that you are getting your data from. So it would just be like if you are a soccer player and they are wanting to know what is the favorite move of soccer players, but they go and ask the football team. Obviously, that would be biased because you have favored one or more parts of the population over others, and you haven't asked the right population of people, or you haven't asked a wide enough population of people. So we want to make sure that we are using unbiased samples because then they provide us with accurate data. So here at the bottom, we have a little blurb here, and it says the results of an unbiased sample are proportional. There's that word proportional again. You just can't get away from it. To the results of the population. So you can use unbiased samples to make conclusions about a population. So biased samples are not representative of a population, so you should not use them to make conclusions about a population. Okay, so let's move on to the back side of our page. So I have some examples here of what that looks like. So here's something you're going to know about this statistics unit. It's going to require a lot of reading because you are going to need to know what's the question, who have we assessed, how was it assessed, how do we know if it's biased or unbiased. Okay, so that's going to require some reading on your part. So this first one is identifying an unbiased sample. So you want to estimate the number of students in the high school who ride a bus to school. Which sample is unbiased? So first we have A, 4 students in the hallway. B, all the students on the soccer team. C, 50 12th grade students at random. Or D, 100 students at random during lunch. So here's why each choice works or doesn't work. So choice A is not large enough to provide accurate data. So we wouldn't want to pick that one. 4 students in the hallway does not give me enough information about all of the students in the high school, right? So B is not selected at random. I didn't select this choice at random. I chose the soccer team. Okay, that's not a random decision. Choice C is not representative of the population because 12th grade students are favored over other students. So if I was asking about 12th grade students, that'd be great. But because I'm asking the number of students in the high school, which is 9th through 12th grade, this is not a good representation of that data. And then choice D is representative of the population because it's selected at random and it's large enough to provide accurate data because I'm asking 100 students at random during lunch. So I'm getting a wide array of different age groups. Because if you know anything about the high school, it isn't lunches by grade. So then you would have a mixture of different grades, different students, whether they ride the bus, they don't ride the bus. So this would be a great representation. So the correct answer is D. Now you're going to do a little try it here with the data that we just talked about. So you want to estimate the number of 12th grade students in a high school who ride a bus to school. So which of these samples, A through D, is unbiased? I want you to tell me which one is unbiased, and then I need you to explain your why. So like here we said choice D is representative of the population, and the because explains. That tells me why. Okay, so that's what you're going to do with this try it. So stop your recording really quick. I want you to answer this question. Don't forget to give me your why, and then we'll move on. Perfect. So you should have answered that what if question. So let's move on to this last section here. So it says determining whether conclusions are valid. All right, so you want to know how the residents of your town feel about adding a new landfill. Determine whether each conclusion is valid. Okay, so first you survey the 100 residents who live closest to the landfill. And we have a diagram, which you don't see in this picture. It's not necessary, but it shows the results. So in the results, you conclude that 10% of the residents of your town support the new landfill. Okay, so then we have 100, or you survey 100 residents at random, and the table shows the results. So in that table, which you don't need to see, but you conclude that 60% of the residents of your town do not support the new landfill. Okay, so what do we know about these samples? First, sample A is not representative of the population because the residents who live close to the landfill may be less likely to support it, right? So if I'm wanting to know, I want to know how the residents of the town feel about adding the landfill. Well, if I only survey the people who live closest to the landfill, likely they're not happy about it because if you know what a landfill is, that's like a big dump station. Okay, so it's like where all of the garbage men, when they come and pick up your trash, they go and dump it there at the landfill. Okay, so it's not this pretty glamorous place. So obviously the people closest to the landfill are not going to be thrilled. So this is not representative of the population because the residents who live close to the landfill may be less likely to support it. So the sample is biased. And the conclusion is not valid. Now with this one, we surveyed 100 residents at random. That's at random, just says, that's a great term to hear, at random. If you see that, then you can almost guarantee that that's going to be the right direction to go. So the sample is representative of the population because it is selected at random and it is large enough to provide accurate data. Because if I would have said, you survey 10 residents at random, well, at random's great, but 10, not very great, right? Because that is not representative of all the people in the town. But to say 100 residents at random, that gives you a pretty good indicator, right? We're not going to be able to survey every single person in the town, especially when you have tens of thousands of people that live in a certain town. So getting a sample of those people helps us get a good picture of what everybody is thinking overall. So the sample is unbiased. and the conclusion is valid. So in this section, you're going to be answering questions about bias or unbiased samples. You're going to be telling me whether it's a sample, if it's a population. So you'll need to know this information. So make sure you're holding on to your notes so that you can reference back to the key terms part of the sheet so you can make sure you understand what you're doing in this lesson.